Well, we're joined now by Harjap Singh Bhangal, immigration lawyer. Harjap, I mean, people hearing this thinking, well, this guy was denied asylum twice, and then on his third attempt, after having committed 2 sex crimes, and then saying, oh, I've seen the light, so therefore I'd be persecuted when I go back home. Suddenly, he's allowed to stay. Now, is that something that anyone can use to game the system? Is this a rarity? Or is it that if you are a sex offender and say, I'm going to be punished back home, or suddenly decide, well, I'm a Christian now and I'm going to be punished back home, that's it, done, you get to remain?
That's not really the case, but the fact is this is all on the Home Office, and whose fault is this, and where are we going to actually dissect this? He was refused asylum once. After that, he should have been removed. That is what the procedure says. That's what should happen. That's what used to happen, say, about 15 years ago. And it didn't used to happen in 1 or 2. It used to happen in the tens of thousands of people who used to be removed under previous government. Now, what we've seen since 2011 and 12, and especially between, say, 2015 and 2020, is a massive dip in the amount of people being sent back, especially in foreign national offenders. So we've had figures, I mean, if we look at the Migrant Observatory's figures and even the Home Office's own figures, in, say, 2014, the total enforced returns, that enforced returns is people who are detained and or we forcibly send back, basically, you know, clues in a name. It dips from 13,000 all the way in 2020 to about 3,300. So, you know, it's almost 5-fold in relation to that. We can say that in 2011, we were sending back, like, offenders-wise, almost 5 times more than what we're sending back now. And that is a fault of the Home Office, and that allows people to stay here, apply again, change their circumstances.
By the way,
and we've had in this offender,
we found out today why Ezedi, extraordinarily, after twice applying for asylum and then committing 2 sex crimes, converting to Christianity, was allowed to stay. It was, we understand, TalkTV understands, it was because at his 3rd tribunal, the Home Office failed to send a lawyer. Therefore, he was allowed to stay by default, which is, of course, a disgrace. Meanwhile, there are 3,708 foreign criminals who have been out of UK prisons. They did more than a year inside. They've been out of prisons for over 5 years and are still here. And altogether, there are 11,769 migrants who broke British laws and are still here, avoiding deportation. Meanwhile, when we asked the Home Office what the policy is, they said this was an official statement: foreign offenders have no right to be here. Well, that actually technically isn't true, is it, Harjap? As long as your prison sentence is less than a year, you can plausibly or arguably be allowed to stay. I'm saying today, we're asking our viewers, we've got to stop this. You break our laws, you're out. You go.
Well, it depends on to what extent you break the law and what law you break.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. I say if they break the law at all, they are deported.
So if someone's caught speeding, should they be sent, you know, abroad? Should they be deported if someone's caught speeding?
Yes.
If someone's caught in,
why not?
Let's talk about civil laws. So if I get done for defamation, or if you get done for defamation, and you're an immigrant, should you be sent back or deported?
That's not breaking the law, is it? That's not breaking the law.
It's breaking a civil law.
It's not. Well, that's not breaking the law. If you break the law, not to do with libel cases or anything like that, you know what we're talking about. I'm talking about shoplifting. I'm talking about sex offences. I'm talking about even minor offences. You've applied for asylum. You've broken our laws. You're out. You go. Deported. Right there and then. It's obvious.
Well, that doesn't happen. What the government's policy is...
because you'd be out of business, wouldn't you, if we had that system?
No, mate. It's got nothing to do with me. It's not me. Yeah, you just said the Home Office don't even bother to send their lawyers.
I agree. I'm not having a go at you. I'm having a go at the Home Office, but by extension, you.
So once again, that's not us. That's not me failing to do my job. It's you, your money, who you're paying to the Home Office.
Agreed.
They can't even bother to send a lawyer.
Agreed.
And you'll be amazed to learn that's just not in one case. If you go to tribunals, there are probably about 50% of appeal hearings where the Home Office just don't bother turning up. And that's due to a lack of funding by the government. That's due to a lack of staffing, a lack of training, employing gap year students as immigration officers, people who've worked in supermarkets, dropping them right in the deep end and saying, here you go, here's a caseload. And you'll be amazed to know that 50% of decisions that are made, when appealed, they're overturned.
Can I just come in here on
a second, Harjap, let Isabel have a word.
I just want to come here on what you said there about lack of funding. It's not just due to lack of funding, it's due to sheer, overwhelming, ludicrous, insane numbers. I mean, I don't want to see the Home Office massively increasing its budget for these tribunals. I want to see a massive reduction in the number of people who ever get to a tribunal. That's the issue here. We are overwhelmed by numbers. The answer isn't just to chuck ever more money and resources into processing ever more unlimited numbers of people.
The numbers, essentially, over the years of people coming in, especially by boats and by illegal means before they used to come in lorries, are not that drastically changed. It's the number of removals that have dipped, and that is the fault of the Home Office. A lack of investment, a lack of infrastructure. You know, Isabel, I know, every year there's a Home Affairs Select Committee report. For the last 10 years, what does it tell us? The MPs openly tell us a Home Office is not fit for purpose. So why are we persevering with a system which is not fit for purpose and expecting it to produce...
A few years ago, there were no people coming over by boats. I remember reporting on the very early cases of it. So it is patent nonsense, arrant nonsense, that there aren't more people.
We know that.
So for the avoidance of doubt, Harjap, for the avoidance of doubt, you think it's a reasonable system that as long as you break the law and you're sentenced to a term in jail that is less than a year, that's OK. That shouldn't affect your prospects of staying here, of your application for asylum succeeding.
Now, what my point is that this system worked under the previous government because we were sending back...
It shouldn't have done if you had that. That's ridiculous.
How comes then the previous government in 2010 was sending back 11,000 a year, and now you've got the same 11,000 roaming free? That's in the Home Office figures. That's in the Migrant Observatory figures.
That's
not fake. That's the Home Office own figures. And how come that has gone down to 3,000 now?
Yeah, well, that is indeed an important question to ask. Unfortunately, we can't ask you the question because that isn't on you. But what I can ask you is, as an immigration lawyer, what is your experience of people coming in claiming, say, to have converted to Christianity, or saying that they've been refused asylum once but are giving it another go? You know, the basis upon which Abdul Ezedi managed, third time lucky, to stay here. Do you have a lot of people doing that? Do you think people are gaming the system by converting?
It's not in great numbers. The system will always be loopholes to game any system, as we've seen, not just exclusively to asylum. Look at the PPE stuff that's been going on. The government love a loophole, especially this one. We know that for a fact, right? Because it helps its mates do that. Now, the fact is that if you're coming from Iran or you're coming from Syria where there's a war, you don't need to claim to change your religion because they can't send you back anyway to a war-torn country. It's only from people from countries where they think there's a chance of being returned that people try and game the system. Now, what actually is that is a problem of the government due to the fact that the returns have gone so low that people get a chance to have another go and another go and another go. If I've been refused asylum, why am I not being returned within 7 days?
Can I ask you this,
Labour, we had a fast system.
Let me ask you this. We're not having a go at you, by the way. Yeah. We're interrogating you because you're an expert. You're an expert in the field. I'm having a bit of a go at you, but not much. Why the hell is being a sex offender now a reason to be allowed to stay in Britain? We've had it with several documented cases, probably more, which is people get done for sex offences, migrants waiting for, they become sex offenders. They're convicted, and then their lawyers, their representatives go to the tribunal and say, you can't send him back to Somalia because in Somalia they take a really dim view of sex offenders. Well, let me tell you, we're not that keen on them here. Why is that a reason to stay in Britain?
That isn't a reason to stay in Britain.
It has been used successfully quite a lot.
You'll be surprised to know people have used their love with a cat to try and stay in Britain. There's a famous case, if you remember,
but slightly different. There's not really an equivalence there.
Yeah, but if we're talking about excuses to stay here, people people have done that. People have entered sham marriages, sham same-sex relationships in order to stay here.
What about
However,
sex
that is the
offenders?
job.
Why are we allowing sex offenders to stay on the basis that they're sex offenders?
It's quite simple. Jail them for a year or more then, and then it's automatic deportation.
No,
if you're not going to jail a sex offender,
you don't get it,
why
do
not?
you? We
Why
don't
don't you wanna
jail them
jail
for a year.
them?
It doesn't matter whether they go to jail. Once they commit a sex offence, they should be out of here. Back to Somalia. I don't care if it's war-torn or not. Why should we have to put up with them?
Ask the Home Office who are not removing these people. Because guess what? The majority of people who get removed, they don't commit an offence. They still get removed.
Can I just ask you one more question, which is, have you ever helped anyone on the second or third attempt, or do you absolutely refuse to do that?
Well, we don't need to help anyone on a second or a third attempt, because what happens is they've already got the whole system in the case, and it's not as if they vary it a lot. So if you're claiming asylum first time, all your details are on the Home Office. You can't then just and are there. You can't just totally change the facts and say, actually, this happens. Otherwise, you lose credibility. And credibility is a big issue in asylum cases. So what people do is many of the time just apply with the same circumstances, but say, actually, I've been here 5 years now and the Home Office haven't removed me.
So do you ever get involved in processing those second attempt cases, you personally?
Not
or your
really,
company?
because we don't need to. We don't need to. And the second attempt, you can just go straight to Liverpool and submit your case directly.
Right. Okay.
Harjap, it's great to talk to you.
System, isn't it? Harjap, thank you
Always
so
a
much.
pleasure,
Thank you for
mate.
your candour.
Thanks for soaking up my insults. Thank you very much.
Goodbye.
Harjap Singh, their immigration lawyer.